Welcome to koam-presents, a podcast produced by KOAM News Now and the 4 states' most watched news team.
Rough Country is at Carnes Pro Tire. Complement your truck or Jeep with a new Rough Country lift kit or protect your truck with a retractable or tri-fold bed cover. Only at Carnes Pro Tire and Auto Center, just south of Baxter Springs.
Did you know that Jock Stitch Sporting Goods can provide your team with fully custom uniforms? With over 35 years of experience, the experts at Jock Stitch can set your team up with the best-looking uniforms and apparel at the most competitive price possible. Specializing in discounts for your school, booster club, coaching staff, club teams, or business, you won't find a better solution. See how Jock Stitch can help your team at the corner of 6th and Broadway in downtown Pittsburgh or online at jocksnitch.com.
Sporting goods from Jock Stitch.
All right, what's up, everybody? This is episode 10, the season finale of the koam-presents Pigskin podcast. On this episode, Chanute and Girard roll into the regional championships undefeated. I get exactly what I wanted with Columbus and Galena meeting on Thursday for a regional title. After first-round byes in the playoffs, Carthage, Webb City, Seneca, and Lamar all hit the field for district semifinals this week. And one of my favorite dudes I know, Pittsburgh State safety and former Frontenac Raider Brandon Malikas, joins us to talk about the season and a big opportunity this week for the Gorillas. As always, got a lot to talk about, and it's the season finale. We're not wasting any time. Lance, give me the music and let's go. Yes, regional championships in Kansas, district semifinals in Missouri, last week of the regular season in Oklahoma. Now listen, I love basketball season, but it's got to chill out for a minute. We're not done with football. This is the best time of the year. All of these games mean something now. We get to find out who's real, who's not. First off, I want to give a shout out to our sponsors. These guys have been with us all season long. Jock Snitch, Carnes Pro Tire, Neosho Memorial Regional Medical Center, and McGavin Financial Group. Appreciate your support of this podcast and appreciate you guys' support of local sports. All right, I'm starting with Girard. They played Parsons last week in the opening round of the 3A playoffs. They beat the Vikings 35-0. That was the game I was at last week. A few things on this one. I don't know, just because it was the playoffs, or if they've just hit their stride at the right time. But that Girard team that I saw on Friday night, the way they played, good luck. I mean, it didn't matter who was on the other side in that game. They played really well. Maybe their best game of the season so far. Now, Girard gets Frontenac this week for a 3A regional title. These two teams played in Frontenac in the regular season. It was a pretty ugly game for Frontenac. It was on their home field, and Girard won that one 35-0. But this is a different Frontenac team than they were back in Week 4. Now, here's Girard head coach Neil Philpott. First, talking about his team's performance last week against Parsons, then on what he sees out of this Frontenac team they'll play this week.
I thought we played pretty well. Probably one of our better games we had played in the last 3 or 4 weeks. As a whole, offensively and defensively, cut down on some penalties, and defensively, I thought we did a very nice job of tackling in space and tackling as a one, and really getting kind of limiting some of their possessions. So, but I thought overall, last 3 weeks, I thought it was one of our better games. They've grown up a little bit, I think. I mean, as far as they knew they were going to be a young team, and we saw in Week 4, and we knew they'd be different in Week 10. They've kind of gone through it, and they've they're learning as they go each week, and it shows up that they play a little bit better, a little bit more familiar with their stuff that they're doing, and the speed of it all. And I mean, they're playing well. And for us, we're going to have to make sure we're taking care of business and preparing, not for a Week 4 team, but a Week 10 Frontenac team. And we talked to our kids that Week 4 has no bearing on what this week has, and we need to prepare that we want to be 1-0, and we need to go out and do that.
Now, these two teams, Frontenac and Girard, look, we have a lot of really good coaches in Southeast Kansas and Southwest Missouri and Northeast Oklahoma and the whole 4-state area. But these two coaches, Philpott at Girard and Mark Smith and Frontenac, they're really, really just fantastic. I mean, Mark Smith, look how much different this team is now in Frontenac than when the season started. You watch them, it's not even close. And for Girard, when I was there on Friday in that game against Parsons, it's a little story time. It was early, so I think they were already up 7-0, maybe 14-0. It was still a game either way. Parsons had like a 3rd and 4, and they drew Gerard off sides. I think it was Jaden Norris jumped off sides, and I'm not calling you out, Jaden. This is gonna end well. I'm just telling the story. So anyways, Jaden Norris, linebacker for Gerard, jumped off sides for it was 3rd and 4, 5-yard penalty, whatever. First down, Parsons, and not one coach, not one player, not one teammate when that happened. It was all positive. It was like I saw the coaches, step out on the field, clap at Jaden, and go, "Hey, forget about it. Next play, next play, next play." That's just great coaching. Like, that's positivity and great coaching. And the best part was later in that same drive, Parsons went for it on 4th down, and you know who made the play? It was Jaden Norris. He came up and made a great play, great open field tackle. Man, that's coaching. That's championship mentality, man. I actually asked Coach Philpott when I talked to him about that sequence, about the offsides, and then Jaden making that play on 4th down and having that mindset with this team. Here's Coach Philpott.
You got to play smart. You got to know what you're doing. Try to limit those mistakes, but when they do happen, you can't focus on. It's got to be the next play and moving on and reboot. And that's prime example of that he's the one that kind of extended the drive a little bit, and he's the one that shut it down too. So he made a really nice play on that screen. Came up, made a nice open field tackle all by himself there, and it was one of those things that you talk about that, you teach that, and I think our kids understand that a little bit, that we can't let one thing snowball on the other, and we've given up plays over the years, over the course of the year, but we have responded well and maybe not given up a touchdown or come back on that drive and shut them down. So it's something we talk about. Kids aren't out there trying to make mistakes, so you try to pick them up and move on to the next play and try to limit them as you go.
All right, I can't wait for that Gerard front in that game. And as of right now, as of this recording of this podcast, which is late Tuesday night, they're still playing that game on Friday. We've had some games moved up from Friday to Thursday night because we're going to have some, nasty weather on Friday night. But as of right now, that Gerard front in that game, I may have tweeted something differently when you're listening to this podcast now, but as I'm sitting here, they're still playing on Friday. The Chanute Blue Comets. They beat KC Schlegel in the first round of the playoffs last week, 49-6. It was exactly what they should have done. They jumped on them early, really put them away in the first half. Now Chanute has a shot at a 4A regional championship this week, hosting KC Piper, and that's one of the games that has been moved up from Friday to Thursday. So that one will be Thursday. I talked to Chanute head coach Cleet Frizzell about his team's impressive playoff opener against Schlegel and what he sees out of the Piper team they're going to play this week.
We wanted to get on the board early and put doubt in their head and not give them a glimmer of hope that they could stay in the game. So that's kind of what we did. Our kids took care of business. We started scoring early and kept scoring. And halftime, I'm sure their kids were thinking it was out of reach and the game was pretty much over. And that's really what we wanted to come out and do. So I was proud of our kids for taking care of the football and executing and putting points on the board early. And playing great defense also. They're a very good group. They're athletic. They can run at every position. They have, a Division I offensive lineman, defensive lineman that's committed to K-State, who's a very good player, and another guy that plays right next to him that is also very good. So they have some size up front. They're physical. They have a lot of athletes that can run, and they're honestly a similar team to us as far as personnel goes.
All right, like I said, that game has been moved to Thursday between Chanute and Piper. If Chanute is able to win that one this week, they're in the state quarterfinals for the first time since 2019, and they'll likely get another shot at Bishop Miege. And Miege actually knocked Chanute out of the playoffs last season in the regional round, so I know Chanute wants another shot, to make that right, to get another shot at Miege. A couple other important games in Kansas this week. Pittsburgh on the road against KC Sumner for a 5A regional title. Pittsburgh been pretty good, man. We've said on this podcast the last few weeks, they've won 7 of their last 8. They beat KC Washington in the first round last week. The Colgan Panthers, they're setting at 8-1. They've won 7 in a row. They'll host Jayhawk Lynn for a 1A regional championship. That is also a game that has been moved up to Thursday. Jayhawk Lynn, by the way, in that one, also 8-1 on the season. So, this will be the toughest test that the Colgan has seen in a few weeks, certainly. Then, I told you right here on this podcast last week that I really wanted this one. I'm sorry, I'm selfish. Thursday, Galena hosts Columbus for a 3A regional championship. I told you, I said, Columbus guys going on the road against Burlington. I don't want to be Burlington. And Columbus went up there and they took care of business against Burlington. Galena's 7-2 in this matchup. They've won 6 in a row. They're one of the hottest teams in the area. But again, I'm not gonna count Columbus out, man. I know they're 4-5, but they've won 3 in a row. They've got their swag back a little bit. They beat Parsons and Burlington by a combined 76-8 the last 2 weeks. These two teams, Galena and Columbus, actually played in the regular season. Galena won that one 36-22. But kind of like we talked about earlier with Girard facing Frontenac, Galena knows they're facing a different Columbus team than the one they saw in the regular season. Here's Galena head coach Bo Sarminski on what he sees out of Columbus now, as opposed to what they saw earlier in the season.
Well, they're playing with, number one, with a lot of confidence, and anytime you play a team that's got confidence, they're scary. And number two, they're just going right after and playing physical. And, anytime you can do that this time of year, a lot of good things can happen for you. And they can also throw it. So, they're running the ball effectively, and I think it's opened up some play action for them and kept them, where they're pretty doggone good.
All right, I think that'll be a great one on Thursday night. 2 tough teams with a bunch of tough kids, a bunch of players that I really like to watch. That's what the playoffs are about, man. Lining up tough kids. One of them's moving on. One of them's not moving on. On the Missouri side, Class 5 District 6 bracket, Carthage and Webb City both in action after first-round byes last week. Carthage faces Willard in the district semifinals. Webb City faces Republic. Now, Carthage, they're going to do what Carthage does in that Willard game, all right? But the Webb City game, I do find it a little interesting. I don't think it's a walk in the park here for Webb City. They did beat Republic 35-14 in the regular season, but Republic is playing pretty well as of late. They've won 4 in a row, including beating Nixa a few weeks ago. I didn't think, I thought when Nixa got clear of the the Carthage, Joplin, Webb City gauntlet, I thought Nixa was smooth sailing to the end of the regular season at least. But Republic found a way to knock them off a few weeks ago. I think it was a 1-point game. But either way, if you're hanging around, you're beating Nixa, you know how to play. Your potential is pretty high. Now, with that said, I don't consider myself a stupid person. I'm not going to sit here and say someone's going to come to Webb City and win a November football game because traditionally, that's a stupid thing to say. That's a losing bet. So that is definitely not what I'm saying. But, what I am saying is I don't expect it to be a walk in the park for Webb City. It's not going to be, no disrespect. It's not going to be that Carthage-Willard game. I don't think. I've been wrong before. But I'm not playing around with Webb City in November. All right, the Lamar Tigers, fresh off a first-round bye, they host Stockton this week. The winner of that one will play for the Class 2 District 5 title next week against either Warsaw or Fairgrove. The Seneca Indians at home against Hollister in the Class 2 District 4 semifinals this week. Seneca had a first-round bye last week. The last time we actually saw them play was the regular season finale. They lost that one to Nevada 49-14, and Nevada spoiled their undefeated regular season with that. But Seneca still, won the Big 8 West championship in the regular season. They, 8-1 in the regular season. They're a good team, and they've had to sit on that 49-14 loss to Nevada for 2 weeks. I'm sure the film session wasn't that great the week after that Nevada game. So I do expect Seneca to to come back and to play well this week. They've had to sit there with that Nevada loss in their minds, but they're coming off a bye week. Here's their head coach Cody Hilburn on how the teams responded and kind of had a chance to refocus after that tough loss to close out the regular season.
We had talked about this all season long. You hope that it doesn't take a loss to get you back locked in. And I don't think it was a case that we weren't locked in. It's just we had some stuff that got exposed on Friday night that we needed to clean up. And it's like I told our kids, if it took a loss to accomplish that, then it'll be the best loss we've had. We had some self-inflicting wounds that got ourselves and it wasn't the same thing every time. We had multiple mistakes at different positions, and our kids just understand it takes all 11 guys doing their job 100% of the time to be successful.
I can't wait to see what Seneca does in the playoffs. This week is such a good week of high school football. Of course, we're going to have our Press Box show on Friday night at 11 on Fox 14. That's a 30-minute show. It's all football. You should watch it. If you're listening to this podcast and you haven't watched the Press Box show yet, first off, if you're listening to this podcast all season, thank you. but also I think you'll like the Press Box Show on Friday night at 11 on Fox 14. 30 minutes, all football. We got highlights and scores from all over the place. Again, that's 11 o'clock Friday night on Fox 14. All right. When we come back, one of my favorite guys of all time. I've been doing this like almost 8 years, and I feel like I've covered this dude for all 8. Like I feel like I've kind of grew up with this guy. You know, when I started this job, you know, he was a good player at Frontenac High School, all-state player. I think it's 4A Division II Player of the Year. So he's been good like my whole career here at KOM. So I feel like I've grown up with this guy, you know, taking this job at about the same time that, you know, he started becoming the legend that is Brandon Malikas. The Pitt State safety, former Frontenac Raider, Brandon Malikas. He's joining us to talk about the Gorillas season, Saturday's matchup with Washburn, and a lot more after this.
The advisors at McGavran Financial Group have been helping people invest today for a more enjoyable tomorrow since 1984. In Joplin, see Earl or Mike. In Pittsburgh, see Earl or Steve. McGavran Financial Group. Invest today, enjoy tomorrow.
Neosho Memorial in Chanute welcomes another outstanding general surgeon to its surgery center. Dr. Law joins surgeons in the field of urology, orthopedics, women's health, and general surgery. Neosho Memorial in Chanute, offering the latest technology close to home.
All right, we're joined now, seriously, one of my favorite guys I've covered in my time here, Pittsburgh State safety Brandon Malikas, former Frontenac High School standout. First off, man, thanks for being here. Week 9, man, 9 games into the season. Everybody's kind of beat up at this point. You know, physically, how are you feeling after 9 weeks in the MIAA?
I'm doing all right. I'm holding up. Honestly, better than what I have in the past. I think that goes out to our strength and our training staff. You know, they take care of us, and they monitor our lifting and our running. And if you play more, you lift a little less, and if you don't play as much, you get those reps in the weight room, and they're really staying on top of that stuff. And I think it's definitely helped out our team tremendously. But
you guys are 9-0. Last week, you beat Central Oklahoma to earn at least a share of the MIAA Conference Championship. The sense that I get from you guys is you're not satisfied with earning a share and being 9-0 at this point in the season. Will you kind of just talk about the mindset of the team and where you guys are?
Definitely. That share was nice. It was nice to maybe just to have that feeling of, all right, it's a little bit there, but in the locker room after the game, even Coach Wright said it. We didn't come to share anything. We didn't come to Pitt State to share a conference title. Like, we want the whole thing, and I think that we're still a very hungry team, and, Washburn has beaten us every year since we've been here, and I think that we have something to prove against those guys.
Do you hate Washburn as much as I do? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Yes, I do.
There are teams that I dislike more than Washburn. Okay, but last time, Pittsburgh State beat Washburn. 2016. Were you in high school?
Yeah.
You still in high school?
I've not beaten Washburn in my time in Pittsburgh State, so it's like I said, it's been a long time coming for us.
Time's running out. You got to make that happen.
They got 4 days.
Is Washburn a tough place to play? Like I know you've seen some road atmospheres. Where does it rank in terms of road atmospheres and tough places to go on the road and play?
Definitely, probably near the top, at least in our conference. They do a fairly good job of getting people in the stands, and they're fairly loud. The only time that I've been there, I actually got hurt fairly early in the game, so I wasn't a huge part of that game. But they do a pretty good job. Nothing's like the jungle, but they're not bad.
We talk about you've had some home games that were pretty loud. That Northwest game in particular was a fun atmosphere. I'm not playing, but I still look forward to to those loud atmospheres. We talk about the community support and kind of some of the loud stadiums you've got to play in, especially at home this year.
The crowd and the community have been exceptional this year. They've really stepped it up from years past, and I think that has a lot to do with how well we've played on the field. But like you mentioned, that Northwest game was special, and it was just a fun overall game just to be a part of. Just the energy on the field was so electric. Even when we went up there last year, I think we kind of got that first taste of how a good, ranked, tough game should be in an environment like that. And, our fans came out this year, and they didn't disappoint, and they haven't yet. So
I really feel like the fans, of all the games this year, the fans had the most impact in that game. Like, it felt like they got pretty loud on some important third downs and kind of disrupted things.
They definitely did. You know, it was those third downs were we were trying to get everyone up as much as we could, and they came with it. And I mean, they had a few false starts on third down, and you know, you're trying to get your calls to your guys, and the offense seemed to struggle with that. And that's just, you know, that's another player on the field for you, and you love having that confidence. You know, they're struggling, that you guys are just feeding off of it. So.
You guys, you know, going from last year to this year, you lost some good players on the defensive side. You know, you lose like a guy like Dallas Flowers, NFL guy. You know, Jordan Hindi, you lose, you know, on the back end. You lose a guy like Caden Roy up front. And I was like, okay, you know, going into the season, I thought, you know, it may take him a week or two to figure this out. You guys have been really good and really deep all season long. We've kind of talked about the confidence that you guys have, not only in your first 11, but the guys who come off the sideline. And, you know, knowing as a starter, there's not that much drop-off between the guys that are out there to begin the game and the guys who are coming in.
You know, that's a great feeling. As a guy that usually played most of the snaps last year and started off playing a lot of snaps this year, having a person that you know that's behind you that you can trust and is going to come in and make plays, even like Adam did last week at UCO, and it's really helps our defense with some confidence. You know, just if you get tired, you know, you have that sense of comfort. Just come out one play, just get your breath, and you got, like you said, no drop off. And I really feel like we're 2-3 deep at every position on defense, and that's very scary when you can have a defense stay fresh. You know, long drive, get going, you can sub almost an entire new defense and get going, and it's very challenging for offenses.
I've said this like a million times on TV and on this podcast. One of my favorite parts of doing this job is, you know, seeing guys like you and Zeke and Elijah and Bryce and Alex, and, you know, the list like goes on and on of the local players. It's so cool for me to like know you guys when you're like 16 and 17, and then you go on and be like captains at a local college. You know, is there an extra pride, you know, that goes along with wearing that gorilla uniform, you know, being a local guy who, you know, was aware of this program and, you know, probably went to Pittsburgh State, you know, games growing up? Is there an extra swag or pride that goes along with that?
Definitely. You know, growing up, you always watch those great teams. You know, for me, when I was 5, 6, 7 years old, those 2000s teams were so dominant. And, you know, for me, that really set it, what Pitt State football was that 10 wins or it's a bad season type mentality. And, you know, like you said, just keeping that mentality, having that extra swagger of being local, having all the support, it just goes a long way for us. All the local guys really feed into that because, you know, we're repping our area and our cities and our towns, and we have a tremendous support from everyone around.
I want to go back a few years. Obviously, you know, you've been through a coaching change at Pittsburgh State, you know, between the 2019-2020 season. You know, what was that like for you? And was there a moment, you know, when you got to know Coach Wright and the staff where it was like, boom, okay, I'm in. Like, I'm bought into this.
Not gonna lie, when they first got here, it kind of sucked. You know, any new coaching staff comes in, they got to set the tone and set the standards and how they want things ran and how they want things done. And that first spring was challenging. It was difficult, but you know, I feel like that happens everywhere when new coaches come in. But as far as for me, that moment, you know, that spring I really wasn't doing a whole lot of great things. I had made the switch to quarterback and came back, and they really challenged me and pushed me to start becoming a leader on defense. And, you know, I wasn't high on the depth chart, and I had to earn that respect and earn that role. And I think for them to do that, you know, take a guy that was the starting quarterback and say, hey, you're a third string now, get it back and take charge. And for me, that was the push I needed to get back to where I needed to be.
Do you think your time, you know, you mentioned it there, do you think your time playing quarterback for that season helped you become a better safety?
Definitely. You know, our coach always preaches now, like, a lot of our coverages were just straight looking at the quarterback. And, you know, you see formations and kind of situations during the game where they, you know, an offense needs 5 yards or they might have 2nd and 1 and they're going to take a shot. And you just kind of get back into that mindset of, all right, what would I do if it's 2nd and 1 or if it's 3rd and 8, you know, just where am I looking, where am I going, and where those looks really mean something and sometimes where they don't.
You know, this group, this team, it feels really tight to me. You know, I'm not around the team as much as like you, but just being around you and knowing some of the guys on the team, it feels like a really close, tight team. We talk about that. Is that true to you? Does this team feel closer?
Definitely. This team is probably the closest team I've been on, and I've been on a lot of teams that have been very close, and I think this team is way above that. There's things now that happens between guys that chemistry just wasn't there almost before, and now it's like there is no breaks between anybody, offense, defense, special teams, anything. It's just, if you're on the team, you're a guy, and everybody knows you, and everybody loves you, and everybody's getting along, and that goes a long way. I think that has a lot to do with our success because, sometimes in the past there may have been a little divide between defense and offense, and you don't spend that time together, but I don't feel like that's the case this year. Anytime the offense comes off the field, there's 5, 6, 7 defensive guys over there. Good job, good job, good job. Or maybe they have a turnover, they get a 3 and out, or it's just, we got you. We're going to be back. We'll get ready. We're getting the ball right back. And I think that goes a long way for our team, just staying together on the field because, we're in a tough conference and games do get tough, and there are some moments where it just – you can either splinter or you can ride together and ride that wave, and I think that's taken us a long way this year.
What do you guys do? Like, are there off the field things that you guys like play Madden or what do you do?
Yeah, there's some guys that game. There's a group of us that we like to go golf during the week and things like that. But as far as like safeties go, we get together or even defensive guys really, or we just get together and we'll go have dinner. I know the O-line goes out a couple nights a week and has dinner together and just things like that. Just, it's not about football. It's just going out and hanging out with the guys that you know and the guys that you like.
Who golfs with you? Does PJ golf with you?
PJ is not a golfer from what I know. I usually go with Gaskell and Morgan and Adam Smith and Ian Watts.
I bet I just picture when I asked that question, I pictured PJ being able to hit and same thing with Mo. I feel like he could probably hit the ball a mile but never straight. That's what I picture.
Mo is actually probably the best golfer on the team.
Really?
Mo is insane. I don't know how he got it, but Mo is probably the best golfer on the team.
I want to ask you about Morgan because obviously he's been here a little bit. I've gotten to know him over the years, and he's always a guy that brings the intensity and kind of brings energy on defense. Obviously he's gone through a couple injuries in the last few years, but we talk about him as a leader and kind of the energy he brings on that side.
I honestly was telling someone this the other day. I'm so impressed with Morgan right now. Just watching him and all the plays that he's made in his career here, it's like jaw-dropping stuff that he can do. Even in practice, it's like, wow, we don't have a lot of guys that can do that. But just like you said, him with his injuries, he has never been as good a leader as he is now. He's kind of banged up still, and he's not getting the reps because he's trying to get healthy and all that. But he's coming to games, he's on the sidelines, he's cheering, he's talking. I don't want to say it, but
no, I know what he's saying.
You know what he's saying, but he's having fun. He's with the guys. He's hyping people up. He's talking people through the down times. And that just goes a long way for someone to be a playmaker like he is and just be in such a tough situation with injuries and just be so positive and so uplifting. I think that's a perfect example for how anybody should act.
I want to ask you about your offense because obviously you guys see more of your offense than anybody. What stands out? Is it hard to practice? Against this offense. What stands out when you line up against you guys' own offense?
At least on the back end, they got tons of playmakers on the edge. I think about it every day. They come out sometimes and 10 personnel, 11 personnel sets with 3-4 receivers and DG, and it's like sometimes in practice you're just scratching your head how do defenses guard these guys? And they do really well in practice. Chad has tremendous command of everything. If he sees something he doesn't like, he has the ability to check and slide lines and all of that. But I just think they have so many playmakers and so many guys that they can get the ball that some of them can take the top off, and if they're not getting the ball, then somebody's underneath getting the ball and getting yards after the catch. They're so explosive over there.
You guys are fun to watch on both sides of the ball. Defense has been dominant. Man, thanks for coming on here. I know you know this. I've enjoyed watching you play for I've been doing this 7 or 8 years. I feel like I've been watching you and covering you for the entire 7 and 8. I appreciate you coming on here, man. Always rooting for you. Good luck this weekend against Washburn.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I had a great time talking with you.
All right, really, man. Malikas is a good dude, and it's been so cool to watch him go from, a really talented high school player to a great college player and a captain for Pittsburgh State. It's the same thing, which I've said a million times, like P.J. Sarwinski on that side of the ball for Pittsburgh State, Alex Gaskill, Zeke Wall, Bryce Murphy, Elijah Harris. I know I'm going to forget somebody. I apologize but so many local guys, go on and play for local colleges. At Missouri Southern, Colton Winder, Coleman Booker, Solomon Garcia. Dude, it really is my favorite part of the job is knowing these guys when they were in high school and didn't really enjoy the camera, but they were good enough in high school that they had to talk to the camera and talk to me and get interviewed after games. And Lance, you've been in here for most of the interviews we've done.
Yeah.
I love that.
That was a good one.
He was honest. That might have been the best interview we've done all year.
Well, not to take away from the other guy, but that was a good one. That was.
He
was real.
Everybody's been good, but I can attest to what I'm saying. That Brandon Malikas that was sitting there was a much different interview than the Brandon Malikas in high school.
Oh, no doubt. He was still playing high school when I was here. I saw Forest State Friday night back in the day.
Yeah. So we've both been here too long is what you're saying?
Oh, exactly.
But anyways, I love having that guy. I love seeing that guy. Every time I'm over there for game day, I always make sure to stop and say hi. And he has a fan base, man.
Oh, yeah.
He's got a fan base from his time at Frontenac High School. His high school friends are like the loudest at Pitt State games. They're up there in the front row. Making noise. Anyways, Brandon Malikas, one of my favorite guys. I really do appreciate him coming out here. That game against Washburn, by the way, will be at 1 o'clock on Saturday. And again, with a win, Pittsburgh State would claim the outright MIAA championship. But it is Washburn, and as we talked about a little bit ago, they have not beat Washburn since 2016, which feels really, really weird because it's Pittsburgh State, and you wouldn't think there's anybody that's beat them 4 times in a row. Whatever. I don't care. Whatever it is about Washburn. It was funny when I said, do you hate Washburn as much as I do? And I was just kidding. He was like, oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. His face lit up.
He was like, I do. So, anyways, they're motivated. The game last year, I'm going to go on this for just a little bit. It's the season. What are you going to do? Stop me?
What are you going to do? I can't stop you.
There's nobody. Yeah, take this microphone. But that game, Washburn came to Pittsburgh State last year. And, God, that was one of the toughest losses I've seen in person because, you look back and you know where Pittsburgh State is as far as the playoffs are concerned last year. And, they line up for a field goal, basically to win the game, in the final minute. And Washburn gets a hand on it, blocks it. And I was shooting highlights for that game and it hadn't even crossed my mind. I was like, all right. Pitt State's going to kick this 30, whatever it was, 30, I don't remember what it was. It felt like a medium to long. It was a makeable field goal if somebody doesn't get a hand on it. And when it got blocked, I was like, oh, I don't know what to do. I was living the moment.
At a loss.
I was just ready for the celebration. And then it was like that. Anyways, if you're a Pitt State fan, I'm sorry for bringing that up, but it sucked. It was a tough scene on the sidelines there. So anyways, what I'm getting at is this team knows that they were really close last year, and I don't think they feel like they played very well in that game last year. So they're motivated. We've seen this year when Pittsburgh State's motivated, like that Missouri Southern game,
they get it done.
They're ready to go. So I'm excited to see what Pittsburgh State does on Saturday at Washburn. All right, the Missouri Southern Lions also in action this weekend. They hit the road to face Northwest Missouri State, so that's a tough one for Missouri Southern. Northwest is ranked 11th in the nation. And Missouri Southern trying to avoid a 4-game losing streak. It's been a really tough, frustrating stretch for Missouri Southern. Frustrating for them, I know, and frustrating as a fan and somebody who's rooting for it. They're so this is just like a couple weeks ago when I talked about the margin for error in the MIAA is so freaking thin. Look at Missouri Southern the last 3 weeks. They lose on the road 20-17 to Central Missouri. They lose at home 24-21 to Emporia State. That game, basically a punt gets caught up in the wind. Emporia State gets good field position, scores late in the fourth, beats Missouri Southern. Emporia State's in the regional rankings. They're in the national rankings this week. That's a 3-point loss to an Emporia State team that's very good. Again, margin for error in the MIAA, non-existent. Then, last week, 31-27 loss at Missouri Western. So 3 losses the last 3 weeks by a combined 10 points, man.
That hurts.
That's the MIAA for you, man. I hope fans understand.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like Missouri Southern fans might understand, given the last 3 weeks. I'm not sure Pittsburgh State fans understand that this league is a lot better. Like the gap between the top and the bottom isn't what it was even like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, like whatever. When I was in school in Pitt State, it was like, when I was in school, it was like, who's going to win the Pitt Northwest game and, who's going to be the conference champ. Now, I mean, even the bad teams are good.
It's a toss-up.
Yeah, there's so many good players even on the teams that don't win games. All right, that Missouri Southern Northwest game will actually start at 1:30 in Maryville. All right, don't forget to check out our high school football shows. Friday night, of course, at 10:20. It's the second half of the KOAM News at 10 on Friday night. Then Press Box on Fox 14 at 11 o'clock on Friday night. That Press Box show, Friday nights we usually go out and shoot a lot of games. We're going to be shooting a lot of Thursday games and then hopefully some Friday games. Look, as I'm recording this podcast, we've had like 6 games moved from Friday to Thursday.
Ooh.
I don't know what's going to happen between now and the time you listen to this, or now and Friday, whatever. Anyways, either way, we're going to do a 30-minute high school football show on Friday night at 11 on Fox 14. Like I said earlier, you should watch it. KOAM at 10, Friday night, Fox 14 at 11 on Friday night. I do want to give one more quick shout-out to our sponsors, Jock Snitch, Carnes Pro Tire, Neosho Memorial Regional Medical Center, and McGavin Financial Group. I really do appreciate the support from all of those sponsors all season long, and thank you. Thank you for listening to this 10 episodes. Like, if you've listened to all 10, like, if you've listened to my voice, like, I hate listening to my voice. Everybody hates listening to their voice, I think. But if you made it through this and you listened to 10 episodes, thanks.
Kudos to you.
I appreciate, yeah, props for listening to me 10 weeks in a row. But this is the first time we've tried something like this. For those of you who have reached out all season long and said you enjoyed the podcast or you've listened to the podcast, it really does mean a lot, to get the Twitter messages, to get the Twitter replies or the Facebook messages, or, however people out in the community when we're out on Friday nights, or, who mention something that I said in the podcast. I really do appreciate it. This is something that we've never done. We walked in here on week 1 and I was like, here's the microphone.
All right, go.
Yeah, like do some content stuff. But I feel like, from week 1 to now, we've gotten better. I hope you guys feel the same way. I appreciate you listening. This really is a special area for local sports, and I appreciate all the feedback, and that's why I'm still here, man. This is a special area for sports, and it's why I still love doing what I'm doing. All right, that's it for this episode and the season of koam-presents Pigskin Podcast. Really, thanks so much for listening. And one more time, Lance, do me a favor here. Turn the music thing up, and let's get out of here. We're done.
Rough Country is at Carnes Pro Tire. Complement your truck or Jeep with a new Rough Country lift kit, or protect your truck with a retractable or tri-fold bed cover. Only at Carnes Pro Tire and Auto Center, just south of Baxter Springs.
Did you know that Jock Snitch Sporting Goods can provide your team with fully custom uniforms? With over 35 years of experience, the experts at Jock Snitch can set your team up with the best-looking uniforms and apparel at the most competitive price possible. Specializing in discounts for your school, booster club, coaching staff, club teams, or business, you won't find a better solution. See how Jock Snitch can help your team at the corner of 6th and Broadway in downtown Pittsburgh, or online at jocksnitch.com.
Sporting goods from Jock Snitch.
Thank you for listening to KOAM Presents. For the latest content and local news, weather, and sports, please go to koamnewsnow.com.